All right. Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of the Saturday Morning Stoa. I'm your host, Cody, and with me, as always, is my brother in Stoicism, Tristan. Tristan, how you doing, brother?
Hey, glad to be here.
Good, good. All right. Today, we're going to be talking about controlling the controllables and letting go of what you don't own. I think this is one of the key Stoic principles that every man should be privy to and understand, and it can help you in your day-to-day life. But before we do that, I wanted to get into last week's challenge. Last week's challenge was for us to visualize our future selves. Did you find any traits that emerged, any habits, any breakthroughs that you had from doing this exercise?
Yeah, I wasn't consistent like I wanted to be.
Yeah,
I think it's because I just didn't plan it in my day. So um, make plans, make schedules, and stick to them is a huge thing. Because if you don't stick to something, it just doesn't get done, right? Or at
absolutely.
least for me.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's like that breaking the pattern thing was kind of something that sh jumped out to me this week. So you wake up in the morning, you do the same thing. When you go to eat food, you do the same thing every day without even really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I just want to like break those patterns and consciously choose what I'm doing rather than just allowing whatever it is, hypnosis, to dictate my life. All right. And on Wednesday, I said, okay, today, no YouTube, because YouTube's one of my biggest time wasters. And so I said, no YouTube. And I was like all agitated. I was like with withdrawal, and it was awful, but it was really great. You know.
Yeah. Shows it's an addiction, right? That you're just so used to having it at all times. Did you find anything difficult about visualizing your future self? Did it come clearly to you, or did it take some time to kind of prompt that out of you?
Well, I'm not very good at visualizing,
Fair
and
enough.
it's more about words than images.
Okay.
Some people are like that, some people aren't, right? Um, and then it's hard to force it, you know?
Okay.
So usually you need or I need to do like 5 minutes of breath work or something, following like a YouTube video, like just counting in breaths, just like calm my mind down and get into that mood. And then it's more easier to like do the visualization process.
For sure.
So it's kind of like you need to prepare. You can't just like sit there and be like, okay, visualize, visualize. Okay, I'm done. It's more of
Yeah.
like a thing where it's like, okay, for 5 minutes, I'm gonna do some breath work, calm down, be in silence, and then spend the next 5, 10, 15 minutes after that doing visualization, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And obviously it's like, I don't know, one of my biggest problems I think is with these gurus out there saying, oh, this is how you have to do it. And but it doesn't really work like that. And most people have no idea what they're doing, and they're so unskilled at it that they feel incompetent compared to the master.
For
And
sure.
so it's just like, just try and try and you get better and better over time. And over time, it gets more comfortable. Like at first, it's awkward, then it's
Yeah.
familiar, then it's comfortable. So don't give up the first time because it feels weird. Just keep doing it and keep doing it. And actually, it is really powerful. And that visualization is the thing that gets you to take that action that you know you should be taking because it
Absolutely.
helps you become more in line with that future identity.
Yeah.
So your old identity becomes less powerful and your new identity becomes more and more powerful. And when it becomes more powerful, that's when you start doing those things that you should be doing,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better. And I think you hit the nail on the head with, you know, if you do it first thing in the morning or at the end of the day, basically having a routine where you're getting your mind primed to do that visualization. If it's right in the morning, yeah, you wake up, you do your breath work, you center yourself, and then you focus on a visualization before the rest of the world hits you and you have all your responsibilities and your duties. Or if it's at nighttime, right? Okay, you're getting winding down to go to bed, have that routine where you center yourself, you do some breath work, maybe you meditate, and then you go through your visualization. It's way more
Mhm.
powerful at those times a day as well because your mind is getting into that theta brainwave where you're more programmable, especially in the
Yeah.
morning when you just wake up. At nighttime, it's a little bit different, but it's still the same premise where if you center yourself, bring yourself back down to reality, focus, then you can do your visualization. So, and I think what we were talking about earlier, even before we got on here, about, when you talk about, hey, what's in my control for the day or what actions am I going to take? If you don't have that solid understanding of who you want to be, it's hard for you to dictate what actions to take, right? Because if you're saying, oh, well, that person, that future me wouldn't do those things. Well, you need to have that idea, that concrete idea of who that person is
Hmm.
before you can start dictating the correct actions to move forward. And I think
Yeah.
that's a very, very powerful thing. And you're right, though, it feels clunky at first, and people are not even used to talking to themselves, let alone visualizing their future self and then taking those actions. So it's one of those learned skills that takes some time, but I think it's a very powerful tool once you've actually gone through those steps and actually done the work. So no, congrats on that. Yeah. So as I said before, I want to talk about controlling the controllables. I know we touch on this here and there with Stoicism, but there really is a dichotomy for control, and that's definitely a core Stoic principle. And it always starts off, and that's how I start off my day by asking myself, what is actually in your control? And when you get down to it, if you think about it, there's really only a few things that are really in your control in your day. And, the four of them are your thoughts, your actions, your decisions, and your responses. And I have a quote from Epictetus, and it's funny, with lots of these quotes from Stoic philosophers, they're very academic and they're very in depth. I find Epictetus, he has a lot of stuff that's it's very plain, it's very straightforward. And one of them here, he says, he's like, some things are up to us and some things are not. And realizing what those two things are, that's how you get control back in your life. And I think it's just such a simple way to put things. And especially being from a former slave, he had to know what was in his control and what was not. And what he chose was his thoughts, his actions, his decisions, and his responses. And I find it a pretty cool story about Epictetus. And I don't know if you've heard this one before, but when he was a slave, I forget the name of his master, but they were wrestling, and he said, because he got him into a leg lock, and he said, "If you keep doing this, you will break my leg." And he kept on going, and
Oh,
and he did, and he broke his leg, and he said, "I told you so." But Hardy was in control of his actions, his responses, his thoughts. Now that's a little extreme, but it just goes to show you that if you are in control of your thoughts, your actions, and your responses, you have control over most situations. And I think that's such a powerful thing to keep in mind, even in today's day and age. And bringing it to more of a real life application, as far as, hey, if you're in the dating world, stop obsessing over somebody's texting you back or if they like you. Control how you show up as a man. I think that's all you can really do. Or for yourself and myself, being business owners, right? Not worrying how fast your business grows, but controlling how focused and consistent you are on a daily basis. That's all that you can do. If it takes off, great. If it doesn't, you need to kind of reevaluate what you're doing, what you're focusing on, and then rinse and repeat and to have a new iteration of your business and move forward and test it. Right. And I think the biggest one here, and I don't think you have a problem with this, I know I do, is releasing the need to be liked. I know
okay.
it's a human trait if it comes to a lot of us, but releasing that need to be liked by everyone. If you do that, you basically give power to everyone else but yourself because you're always trying to please somebody, and what they want out of life. I think instead it's important to control your integrity and how you show up in the world. I think if you do that and if you hold true to your virtues, the right people will come into your life, and the ones that are there to just for a reason or for a season, they'll fade out of existence, and then the right people will come into your life that you can foster good relationships with. And on that note as well, um, you know, I want to. This is going to be part of our challenge, but um, I'm looking at like what's one thing right now in your life that's causing you stress because you're trying to control the outcome.
Hmm. Well, I guess my fitness the last couple of years I've been kind of lazy, and I used to be like really into it, but I got kind of lazy, so I want to get back into it and get my my like ultimate form back,
Yeah,
whatever the best I can do naturally, right?
yeah.
Instead of being like I'm not a dad bod or anything, or whatever that's called, but just get that, peak conditioning back.
Mhm.
But I guess that isn't, it's like I can't tell my body where to lose fat or how much fat to lose or whatever it is, build muscle, right? But I can do
Sure.
the exercise. So I just got to start doing the exercise and trust the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's important. Is like the outcome is one thing, but everyone always talks about this, right? It's not about the destination; it's the journey. And it really is, if you're trying to focus on only outcomes all the time, you're going to be stressed, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be always focusing on the wrong things. I think that if you just go through the process, do your best, and focus on doing those things on a daily basis, the outcomes will take care of themselves. Whether it's in business, whether it's in relationships, if you just focus on, being the man that you want to be, that future self on a daily basis, the rest of it will take care of itself. And that's something that I had to come to terms with a long time ago, is I was always trying to control the outcome, always trying to control it. Okay, if I do these things, then this will definitely happen. And 9 times out of 10, it didn't, or it
Hmm.
manifested itself in a way that was unexpected.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just about showing up, getting rid of that, that thought like you can control everything. That comes back to those four things, right? Comes
Hmm.
back to basically, oh, excuse me, your thoughts, your actions, your desires, and your responses. That's all it is, right? And then the outcomes will take care of themselves.
There's one thing in there I would like to add in is that when we have that goal-oriented mindset, like goal, outcome, whatever, it's all the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like that you finally achieved whatever you want versus the process or the system.
Yep.
What I like to think about is if you have a goal, that's fine, but every single day you're a failure, right?
Yep.
Because you haven't achieved your goal yet.
Yep.
So, but if you follow the process, the journey,
Mhm.
if you do the work every single day, then you're a success every single day, right?
Yes.
You're not a failure because you have a different mindset. You're still
Yep.
going to the same destination. It's just a different mindset of today I exercised for 30 minutes. Like I haven't hit my weight goal, I haven't hit my muscle goal, my body fat goal. Who cares? I did the work today.
Yeah.
I'm a success. Tomorrow I do it again. I'm a success. It's every single day, right? That really is a lot more motivating than, oh, I'm still not there yet. I'm still not there yet, right? So
I love
just keep
that.
that in mind. Yeah.
And it's such a simple frame of mind change, right? It's
Yeah.
instead of, hey, I'm not at my goal yet. What did I do today? Right? And maybe, hey, you set up, hey, I'm going to do an hour at the gym every single day, and you only get 30 minutes. Well, guess what? You did 30 minutes. That's a success. Stack it on top next day, stack it on top the next day. Eventually, you'll get to that ideal body weight, and you've already built that habit in because you've been succeeding every single day versus the mindset of, oh, I'm not at my ideal weight now, or I don't have that 10 pounds of muscle. I got to keep going. It's just that change of frame of reference for your mind going, yep, I'm a success every single day, which is an upward spiral,
Mhm.
versus I still haven't got to my destination. So it's a negative and you're downward spiraling. And I think that's why most people quit a lot of things that they put their mind to, because they just focus on the outcome. They go, yep, I gotta gain 10 pounds of muscle in 3 months. And if they don't get to that and they're always focusing on the wrong thing every single day, yeah, they're not going to gain that. But if you wanted to gain that weight and you wanted to get that 10 pounds of muscle, it's about eating your proper meals every single day, knowing how many calories you have to put in every single day, going to the gym every single day, that allotted time that you put in, right? And then stacking those days up on top of each other versus just always looking at, I haven't hit my goal yet. I need to do better. You're failing every single day. So I
Mhm.
think that's a beautiful thing that you put in there. That's excellent. So basically on that same train of thought though, the challenge that I want to work on this week is, and I want us to really think about this before we commit to it, is I want us to identify one thing that it's out of sight of our control that we're clinging to. And this could be a personal thing, it could be a business, it could be anything, but I want us to identify one thing that's outside of our control that we're clinging to and let it go. And then choose one thing fully within our control that we'll take action on this week. It's a very simple challenge, but if you're stacking these kind of challenges on themselves every single week and really diving deep into what do I have control of this week, and then versus what I don't have control and letting go of it, now you're freeing up that mental space to be able to perform on a regular basis. And for me, I know that I have a large time constraint throughout my days, all the way through the week, and I only have a certain amount of time where I can actually do the work that I need to do. So I've actually just committed to, instead of trying to do something every single day, having specific days where I just focus right when I get home on this task. That's all I focus on because then I don't break the momentum of like working all day and then coming home and then having to switch to family life or this or that. I focus just on going from one, work to another form of work. And that's what I'm going to be doing moving forward. And I've already committed to it and it's worked out great. I did it all this week. And it was nice to just know that I've committed to certain days where that's exactly what I'm doing. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm committing to my community, committed to creating content. committing to providing value to the members in our community. So that's what I want our challenge to be for this week. So post, I'm going to make a post. We'll put the two items, so what you're letting go of and what you're taking ownership of, and then we'll check back in for next week. I'm going to make sure I write that down. And was there any other breakthroughs you had this week, Tristan? Something that you want to share with the group? Anything that would be worth noting?
Um, Sort of, but it's not
Hmm,
like a fully fleshed out idea,
that's
which is
fine.
I'm reading the book called The Fountainhead. Have you heard of that book?
No.
It's by Ayn Rand, Ayn Rand. She was a philosopher. Um, I think her thing was called objectivism.
Okay.
It's sort of in line with Stoicism, I think. I'm not like that familiar with it, but it's more about like it's like strong individualism
Okay.
rather than collectivism, which is like she's like anti-communist, she's pro-individualism.
Yeah.
And anyway, in the book, it's a novel, but it kind of like it's a novel based on her philosophy of like how to be the ideal man and woman, I guess.
Hmm,
And she contrasts the characters with each other. Like the main character is like the ideal individualist,
yeah.
and he has a relationship with the ideal individualist woman. There's also a guy who's the complete opposite of him, another guy who's kind of in the middle, like a people pleaser.
Okay.
And so the main idea of objectivism or individualism is like you have values and you do not compromise your values for any particular reason ever. So
Hmm,
like the guy is an architect and he wants to design a building and he wants to design a building that's different than what the standard traditional architecture is. And nobody wants to hire him. But he's like, if you just change the design, I'll hire you. He's like, no, I'm not going to change the design. I don't care about money. It's not the money. It has to be my design. And there's no compromise.
hmm,
Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. Right. And so like that's like a what's it called? Not an analogy, but whatever the word is, for what you're supposed to do with your life, right?
hmm,
Like I have these values and I'm not going to compromise those values for anybody for any reason. So like if I want a relationship or work or something, right? Like these are my values. And if you don't respect them or you don't like whatever,
hmm.
if you want me to change, then I'm just not going to work with you. It's just to go find someone else, right?
Yeah.
I think that's really important to like I'm not an expert at this, so I could be wrong, but
Yeah, of
the
course.
the idea is like you don't want to compromise your values for other people. You want to be an individual. And then the other person who's contrasted with him is a people pleaser.
Hmm,
So he's also an architect, but he designs buildings however they want them. So he has no real standards for himself. He
yeah.
just says, "You want this? I'll design it for you." And
Hmm,
I just want to please you. I'm pleasing you. And I haven't read the whole book yet, but I think he's gonna eventually fail. And then the other guy who's like more of like the communist mindset, he's like he relies on the masses and he thinks everyone must be treated equally,
yeah.
but he abuses that. So he rises above everybody else,
Hmm, hmm,
because
yeah.
like, and that's the way the
Basically
communist
an
governance work, right?
hypocrisy, right? Yeah.
Everybody's equal except for the people who run the place.
Exactly.
They own everything, right?
Yeah.
So he's like a journalist and he has a lot of influence. And so he uses the masses or whatever to be
Hmm,
able to rise himself up and benefit from them, even though he says we're all equal.
yeah.
So you can see the contradiction in him and like he's so devious and all that. Like he's really bad characters. Anyway, I thought that was interesting of like, the main character, the individualist is like, yeah, you have values, you have integrity, you have honesty, and he's do not compromise. And also another thing about him, which we mentioned earlier, was he doesn't care if he's liked by people.
Yes. Yeah.
Like people are like, that's the ugliest building in the world. He's like, I don't care. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Hmm,
Right? Like to him, it's perfect. Right? I don't care what you think. And like, I don't care if you criticize my building. I don't care if you think I'm the worst architect in the world. Right? So the same thing with us and creating content. It's like you make a video, you put out a program. It's like some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. Some people just don't care. This is the way the world is. You're not going to
yeah.
satisfy everybody. So don't
Absolutely.
worry. Like if it's good for you and good for the people that you intended it to be for,
Hmm,
nothing wrong with that. If someone complains, go find someone else's program that's more in line with that person, right?
yeah.
So yeah, be yourself, be an individual, don't care what people think,
Hmm,
have integrity, don't compromise. Um, you're not here to please people. You're here to like, I don't know what the actual thing is, but it's like, be yourself is the basic thing, I guess.
yeah. No, that's awesome. And you said that's the Fountainhead?
The Fountainhead, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
It's a long book, but
And one thing that stood out for me when you're saying that, it kind of reminds me of like the Herculean choice, where like Hercules had a choice of going down the road of, hey, you have two choices. You can go down the road
Oh, that's
You
right.
take this path, it'll be easy for you. You'll never have challenges in your life. You'll have all your wants and needs met. He's like, but it'll lead to ruin. And then he says, this way is going to be a hard road. You have to face challenges every single day, but at the end of that road is glory. And Hercules chose the glory, and then he did all of his challenges to get to that point. And I think it's just as applicable today, where, like you said, there's the people pleasers, and then there's the individualists. And I think the reason why people don't take that individualist approach is because it's so hard, and it's because we're always programmed to make sure that we fit in with the masses.
Mm,
And what I think people don't realize is that if you stick to your values and if you stick to what you want to do in life, the people who have those same values will come into your life, and you'll create that tribe and that feeling of belonging. And you'll be around fulfilling people where you're not going to have to please people and do things that you don't want to do. So I think that's amazing. I'm definitely going to check out that book, Fountainhead. What was the author's name?
Aynrand. She's very polarizing too. If I think she passed away in like 1980 something, but
Okay.
uh, like if I'm sure she's on YouTube and Rumble and things, and
Yeah.
I know she's had interviews, and yeah, she's very controversial because I think her philosophy revolves around selfishness, but not like selfishness as in I want everything for myself and I'm greedy, but
Yeah.
selfishness as putting yourself first before others, which
Yeah.
I agree with too. Like
Absolutely.
if you put yourself first and grow, you can help more people that way, and you can create things that you can't.
Yeah.
Like if everyone just served everyone else, like we wouldn't achieve anything beyond what we are, like no one would
Exactly.
stand
Yeah.
out. But if you're all individual, you can develop and grow and push forward. So I think that's the idea of her philosophy, but I could
And
be
that,
wrong. I
no,
know it's very
that to me makes
controversial.
complete sense. So like it's being fit for service, right? And that's as a man, as a business owner, if you don't take care of yourself and your interests first, you cannot help anybody moving forward. And I had experience with this early on in life because I used to be a paramedic. When I was really, really young, I was a paramedic at 19. And what stood out to me was we always had these four rules that we had to abide by when we are coming up to a scene of an incident. And it was always you need to protect yourself, you need to protect your partner, your equipment, and then the patient.
Yeah.
Because without those three things, you can't help that person. Like, and I got, when I was young, I wanted to rush in and help. And there was a gentleman in a car and it was burning. And unfortunately, he passed away and we couldn't do anything about it. And I wanted to run up there and help him. And he's like, no, he's like, because if you hurt yourself, then I have to come in and get you. I'm going to hurt myself. And then we can't help anybody else.
Mhm.
Right. So, and I think it's the same thing, just in life in general, not being, like you said, not being the selfish way, but, making sure that you're taking care of yourself, whether it's mentally, physically, spiritually, so that you can serve, your community, whether it's your family, your tribe, your community online, whatever the case may be. Being fit for service allows you to provide more value to the world than just like you said, right? Everyone being at the same space and never rising up, right? If everyone's kind of pleasing each other, there's no need to.
Just pull each other down. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And another part of it I like is once you understand or like live that philosophy, a lot of your energy is going to be freed up and emotions are going to be calmed down because like we mentioned earlier, like if you're trying to make people like you or worry about what other people think or what other people say, that no longer applies because you don't care. And like
Exactly.
you genuinely don't care. It's not like there's three things, right? Like you care what people say, that wastes time and energy.
Mhm.
You actively not care what people say, which also is the same thing. It feeds that same energy because like it's you're actively avoiding or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're totally indifferent, then there's no energy burnt, there's no time wasted
Mhm.
because you're indifferent. You ignore it. It doesn't even, right? And so you save so much time, you save so much energy. Your emotions are going to be better because you're not worrying and freaking out. This person put it down on my video. Oh,
Yeah.
it's gone. You don't care, right? You don't care if they like your video. They don't care. You don't care if you put it down. Like
That's right.
you're completely indifferent to praise and criticism. And then, yeah. So like you just put yourself out there. And when you do that, what happens is you create a pendulum of energy for yourself. And so who like you are going to be like, wow, this Tristan guy, like he's so individual and he's different than everyone else. And he just doesn't care what other people say. He stands for something. They won't be able to process that in their minds. They don't understand what's happening,
Yeah.
right? All they see is this Tristan guy. I'm a magnet to him. Like I'm attracted to him, whether you're a man or female. Like not like
Yeah,
attractive, but like
I
you're,
get you. Yeah.
yeah, like praise this guy, right? And then they follow me, and then people who hate me, they can criticize me, but also that feeds me as well in a different way, not like a negative way, but
Mhm.
it builds me up more because I get more publicity, more people defend me and stuff like that, and so you get this interesting pendulum of energy that favors you
Yeah.
because you're an individual, while everyone else is just following whatever, right?
Yeah, and I think it reinforces your virtues and your identity as far as, you're putting yourself out there to be this person that you want to be. Yeah, you're going to have people who don't like you. They're going to have people that like you. Well, if you focus on, like, again, focus on what can you control. I can control and worry about, oh, these people hate me. What do I have to do to be better so they like me? Well, then you're just feeding into that people pleasing mentality, wasting energy versus, hey, I have this whole other group of people that absolutely admire me for what I'm doing and what I'm providing in the world. Focus on them. Focus your intentions on those people and go, hey, with this group, what would you want to see more? What can I do better? And that way that you can always grow, not only as an individual, but as a tribe as well. Right. So I think that's very important to, again, focus on what you can control, not the negative, and be indifferent, like you said. I think that's a perfect word. And I think being indifferent gets a lot of negative connotation where you're just cold and emotionless and you don't care about anything. It couldn't be further from the truth. You've actually set up priorities for yourself on the things that you want to focus on. And I think that we're so programmed to be people pleasing for every aspect of our lives that people just think that, oh, if you're not pleasing the masses, then you're just you're kind of the fringe minority that's not going anywhere and they're not getting along with the program and moving forward. But it couldn't be further from the truth. Those are the types of people that actually make differences and make movements that actually go
Mhm.
on to make lasting changes in the
They
world.
make change, yeah.
Absolutely.
They grow the culture or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with it or not, at least there's something growing, you know.
Yes.
It doesn't matter, right? So, yeah, it's an interesting. That's why it's so controversial, and she was so controversial because she was just like, "You be an individual, don't compromise anything." And people are like, "What?" But most people are trained. Yeah, you have to respect everybody. No, you don't. You have to please everybody. No, you
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
We're all equal, sort of. But in a philosophical way, maybe like, yeah, we're all equal. Like we're
Yes.
all people. But
Yeah.
like, you don't have to bring yourself down
Mm.
to other people's level. Like, go be yourself, right? And I don't know. It's an interesting philosophy, and I think I'm going to get more into it over time, slowly. But
Yeah. Good. Well, hey,
yeah,
any more of those learnings from that book? Hey, feel free to share them in the community. 'Cause I think a lot of people can use that as well. That's awesome.
maybe I'll put
I'll,
some
de
posts
I'll
about
definitely be
her in
checking that
there.
one out for sure. All right. Well, that's all the time I have for today, brother. Again, appreciate you coming on as always. Thanks for sharing your insight. And when I'm done, I'll go ahead and post that in the community. We'll post a recap. I had one of the gentlemen, Max, reach out to me, and he's going to be joining up next week. But he absolutely loved that we're doing this on a regular basis, and he said, "Keep up the great work." So I wanted to pass that word of encouragement on to us, and
Yeah,
hope you have
I
a good
mean,
week.
like this is how your business works, right? Like the at beginning, like you're by yourself. Normally you wouldn't have someone like me. You'd just be
Yeah.
by yourself. But I'm in the same situation as you, and I'm getting practice too, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I've done dozens and dozens of videos by myself, and
Yeah.
then but over time it builds up and builds up. So
Yeah.
you may not. It's like losing fat, right? Like you don't see it happening, but in a year from now you'll be completely different, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, keep it up.
And we're at episode 4, right? So, and I can't wait for episode 40 and to come back and see. I know I
Yeah.
think we talked about this on the first one we had where it was like when you're looking at old YouTube videos of yourself, versus the newer polished versions, and you can really see the growth of how you conduct yourself on camera and the lessons that you're trying to portray and the message you're trying to portray. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see that in the future. And I
Mhm.
appreciate you coming on, buddy. I really do.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Right. Well, that's it for me, and we'll see you next week.
Yep.
All right, take care.
Bye.